Sound has begun. Oh, you the other one.
Welcome to the Louisa Project 2027, where we discuss education, entrepreneurship, and innovation. On today's show, which is our fourth show, we're going to do our regular three segments. Number one, on the first segment, we're going to talk about student debt and low-income students, and we're going to discuss some things there. Then we're going to discuss things for crowdfunding and entrepreneurship are changing. Well, they've changed as of 16 May, and you need to know about it. And thirdly, in our tools segment, we're going to talk about, and we're going to stay with SBA.gov, and we're going to discuss knowing your market, the markets you're going to sell your products in. So without further ado, we'll start out with segment one, which is an article from Talk Poverty. The name of the article is Why Student Loan Debt Harms Low-Income Students the Most. Okay. So a little background on student loan debt. In 2012, we crossed the threshold for $1 trillion collectively in our country in student debt. It's a huge weight on individuals, on families, and on the economy at large. All right, that's $1 trillion that can be moved around within our economy doing other things. People could be purchasing homes. People could be doing plenty of things, saving that money if they weren't sitting on top of all of that debt. Okay, so next, and last year, 2015, we went to $1.3 trillion in debt. That's an extra $300 million in student debt. Now, that's spread across 43 million people, but that's still a lot of debt collectively. Okay? Now, intuitively, we may think that low-income folks aren't accumulating a lot of debt in education. Hence, people still being lower income, right? Because we think education is a path out of lower income circumstances, better job, better life, so on and so forth. But it's not that simple, right? Because people who are making less money can't afford to acquire as much debt. It's these smaller debts, $2, $3, $4, $5, maybe up to $10,000. For some folks, that doesn't sound like much, but for a lot of people, that's a lot of money. And paying off that debt, along with keeping a roof over your head, food on the table, transportation, those costs start to add up. Utilities. So there's something to think about. And unless you have, the harder it is to find some wiggle room to pay those bills. So that's a very, very, very important factor. Okay. Now, because people with lower incomes tend to live together, or tend to live in the same neighborhoods. For instance, if I'm in a lower income neighborhood, I'm more likely to be around people who are delinquent or have defaulted on debt, simply because there's less income, right? And also, if you add in the 2008-2009 crash, it's even worse, right? So people already were acquiring debt. They got hit harder because people started losing jobs. The economy fell. There was a whole lot of things going there. People losing jobs and homes. There's a whole lot of things going on there, and this was just another debt that people got caught up in. Okay. People with more debt, lower income people start off with more disadvantages, right? Because I can't afford to be a full-time student, because I have to make money to feed my family, maybe working more than one job. I have other debts to worry about, other stresses to worry about. I may have to worry about my children's school, along with all kinds of other stuff going on, which weighs on an individual. And people that make less money tend not to complete this schooling, right? Because over time, I'm accumulating these small debts, but those small debts add up when I'm not making much money. And I may or may not be able to finish. I may have had all intention to complete this course, whether it be a certificate, associate's degree, or bachelor's degree, but I can't because life pressures, right? And we all face that. It's just the pressures increase the less money you have. Okay, so let's look at in a 4-year institution, 33% of low-income students don't complete. All right. But on average, it's 23% students don't complete. Right. So that's because it's harder to finish. There's a 10% gap between the average student and students who are lower income, who tend to be students of color. Okay, not not only students of color, but they're, because of the way our economy is structured, they tend to be students of color. Okay, all these circumstances weigh on people, right? And this vicious cycle that people get caught up in with the best of intentions trying to get out of it, sometimes they end up in a situation that's hard to control, right? Spiraling debt is a horrible, horrible situation. Now, there's a project called Mapping Student Debt. Feel free to look that up. Please look that up, Mapping Student Debt. And it basically says people with more money tend to have tend to be able to handle their student debt better. For instance, if I have graduate degree debt and I've also accumulated debt to get my undergrad degree, I've got more debt, but because I finished postgrad, I'm more employable at higher paying jobs. Right? So I can, for the most part, I can handle that debt better. Right? So lower income students, with all those pressures that impede completion, right? Even though it's a smaller debt, it's harder to manage. So just think about that a little bit, okay? Just to give it some context, only 7% of students, of postgraduate students, only 7% of graduate students default on their loans. So that's 93% of students. 93% of students are just fine, okay? And as opposed to a bachelor's degree, all right? If I'm getting a bachelor's degree, I'm 22% of those folks are going to default, all right? So as you come down from graduate degrees, whether it be a doctorate, MBA, whatever, to a bachelor's degree, that jump from 7 to 22% chance of default, that's a big jump. And we need to talk about closing that gap, right? It would be great if we get them both down to 0, but it helps that we talk about opportunities. Opportunities are in closing gaps. That's where grants are, right? You want to close that gap. You want less of these folks. When you're trying to get that 22% of folks with the undergraduate degree that are failing, we want to get that number down to 7%, just like it is for the graduate degrees. These are the gaps we want to try to close where the opportunities are. Okay, so just some things to talk about. Okay, so the United States government recognizes that this is a huge problem, right? This is a huge bit of debt, right? So the Department of Education has a program called, well, it's basically an overarching program that they call income-driven repayment programs, right? There's several programs underneath that, right, based on your income. Basically, what it is that based on your discretionary income, meaning what you have after you pay your must-pay bills like roof over your head, food on the table, utilities, childcare. After whatever's left, you pay a percentage of whatever's left after you pay those bills. Right? It's a great program. Could debt forgiveness work out better? But that's not the system we're in. Student debt follows you forever. Okay, you can't. Bankruptcy doesn't clear it. Being broke doesn't clear it. So just need to think about that. So look, if you are one of these 43 million people that are in this type of debt, please contact the Department of Education and try to get on one of these programs. Okay, so now of the 43 million people that are dealing with student debt, 51% are eligible for these programs, right? But only 15% actually use the programs, are enrolled in the programs. So that is a huge gap between 15 and 51, right? 15 and 51. Now, for the entrepreneurs out there, if you started a debt service agency, all you do is, help people get through this process, and perhaps they give you a percentage or a service fee. You can do all that online or over the phone or a combination of the two, or in a community, right? Hey, here's a way to manage your debt, right? You could save someone's family just by taking this student debt off the table. You can save someone's career. You can save someone's financial future just by helping them clear this debt or helping manage this debt. Very, very, very important, right? So you've done something positive and you can make a profit at the same time. So everybody wins, okay? Now, we all know that higher education is one of the paths out of low income circumstances, out of poverty. So being able to manage the debt you accrue is something that's very, very, very important. So I'm going to tell you again about the Department of Education program. The overarching program is income-driven repayment programs. Income-driven debt repayment programs. Look that up, Department of Education. And if you are struggling under student debt, please check it out. If you're an entrepreneur, closing that gap between 51% and 15%, there's some profit to be made there. All right, 43 million people, there's got to be a market there. Something to think about. You just got to be able to reach out to that community, and we'll talk about the market, a part of that marketing piece in a minute. Okay, so that's it for our first segment. Just again, I'm Mike Redwine. My Twitter handle's right there. So just when you get a chance, shout out. Just give me a shout, and we can talk about it. If you're an entrepreneur that has an idea, that's my Twitter handle, or the LP 2027 hashtag, which is up there, right? The LP 2027 hashtag, my Twitter handle, or the Louisa Project handle, which is right there. All right, any one of those, you can get in touch with me. Okay, so or you can go through if you read one of my articles on progressivearmy.com, you can reach me through there as well. Okay, so that's it for this segment. I'll see you on the other side of this commercial. Thank you. Hey, let's take a short break. If you enjoy smart, progressive commentary, go to the Benjamin Dixon Show channel Monday through Thursday. On Mondays, you have the Benjamin Dixon Show starting at 9 o'clock. On Tuesdays, you have The Way with Anoa starting at 8 and Ben again at 9. On Wednesdays, the Benjamin Dixon Show starts at 9 o'clock. On Thursdays at 8, it's the Scandinavian Perspective with Niz Peterson. Then Ben starts again at 9 o'clock. Please tune in to the Benjamin Dixon Show channel on YouTube and subscribe. Okay, let's get back to work. That's right, we're getting back to work. Okay, welcome back to the Louisa Project 2027. In this section, we're going to talk about, give you some great news or things that are going on in the world of entrepreneurship and innovation. And today we're going to talk about an entrepreneur's essential guide to the new Wild West of funding opening on May 16, 2016. Okay, on May 16, 2016, things are going to change for crowdfunding, right? So basically crowdfunding is you go online, set up a video, set up on one of these crowdfunding sites. This is equity crowdfunding, where someone will come in and buy a portion of your company and a portion of your profits along with it. Not all, and depending on what you're willing to give up, not always control, hopefully, okay? They'll come in, purchase a chunk of your company, and in turn for a chunk of your company, you get some cash to move forward. Now, in equity crowdfunding, you had to be a vetted and certified investor, right? So it's not just anybody could come along. You had to be an accredited investor, and not just anybody could come along and drop money in your pocket in this equity crowdfunding, right? So something to think about, and that's. I'm not even going to get into how that happened and why it should be like that, but that's all going to change. It all already has changed when you see this on May 16th. Thanks to Title III of the Jumpstart Our Business Startups Act, which was signed into law by President Obama in 2012. Now entrepreneurs can do equity crowdfunding with anyone, just like other types of crowdfunding. Anyone, you can go on these sites and anyone can give you money, right, for a portion of your company, right? And this is a big change. A lot of people may not realize it. This was not always the case, that you could buy a portion of a company, just anybody who happens to have the cash. This is really a good thing, right? So now, for instance, a neighborhood could get together and say, hey, or a family can get together and say, hey, so-and-so from apartment 37 has a great idea. He just got finished with college. He's got everything set up. He just needs some cash. You want to buy in, right? So you sit down, you work out your deal, you get your paperwork together, and people can come and crowdfund you like that, right? Through these crowdfunding sites. Great deal. Now that this has changed, you have to be aware of what your responsibilities are and what you can and cannot do. Now, to be clear, I'm not a lawyer. Nobody on this side in the Louisa Project 2027 is a lawyer at this point. We're not giving you legal or tax advice. This is just general information to help you get through these hurdles in your life as an entrepreneur and an innovator. Okay, so let's go. Here's a quick list, 7 things that you need to think about. Number 1, the amount you are allowed to raise at a crowdfunding platform is capped. It's equity crowdfunding now. It's capped at $1 million in a 1-year period, right? So every 12 months, you can only get $1 million. Most of us don't even have to worry about getting to that $1 million cap unless we're lucky and we've got a great idea and we hit it at the right time. So that's something to think about. That's the law. Okay. Number 2, before selecting an equity crowdfunding platform or whatever website you're going to use, ask the portal what kind of support it offers. Now, sometimes they'll offer legal support. Sometimes they'll just say, hey, you just get on here, give me my cut and get on about your business. It happens. So make sure you know what kind of deal you're getting and what kind of support you're getting from that site or from that platform. Very, very, very important, right? So when you choose a crowdfunding platform, crowdfunding platform, please be careful make sure you understand everything that goes on with that platform. All right. Now, number 3, you can't take money from more than 480 investors. Okay. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Right now, Congress is trying to find a way to fix that. That's what they say anyway. They're trying to find a way to fix that because you may get lucky and more than 480 people want to get in on the ground floor of what you're trying to do. So, but know that, let me read this to you so you get it directly from the source or from this article. A small business with more than 500,000 unprofessional investors and more than 25 million in assets will be subject to the same regulations as a publicly traded company, which is potentially serious burden for a small business owner. Okay, I don't know how many small businesses are worth $25 million, but that's what the rules are. Okay. Now, that was number 3. Number 4, marketing is mission critical in an equity crowdfunding raise. If you want to make money, you've got to be able to get to these people that had the money. Sometimes through that website is enough, but you've also got to be able to, they've got to know that you can get to customers. So you better have a marketing plan along with your business plan. All right. A functioning marketing plan along with your business plan that you can push through. Okay. Very, very, very important. Okay. It's just in traditional crowdfunding campaigns, it's the same deal. If you choose not to do this equity crowdfunding, and a lot of people don't. All right. But to my mind, I would assume if I'm getting a cut of the company, I'm probably more likely to give something. Right. There are angel investors out there. There's other crowdfunding ways to crowdfund. So it's something to think about. Okay. Be careful what you say on social media. You can talk about your business. You say that you have a campaign, a campaign. You can talk about the website, but you cannot, however, get into a pitch about why investors ought to invest. Right? That has to be solely on your crowdfunding platform. Again, they cannot get into a pitch about why investors ought to invest. That has to be solely on your crowdfunding platform. Very, very, very important. Let me read this to you. It's from Richard Swart, Chief Strategy Officer from Equity Crowdfunding Education Resource, Next gen crowdfunding. Okay. Education resource. Next gen crowdfunding. Hint, hint. All right. That's what he says here. Entrepreneurs need to understand that they cannot discuss the specifics of their crowdfunding campaign through social media. Most don't understand this distinction. While all other forms of crowdfunding piggyback on social media, this one does not. Okay? They are specifically forbidden from hyping or promoting any detail of the offering aside from the communication to investor on the intermediary platform. It doesn't make sense to me at all, but that's the law. Okay, so be careful. Again, that's number 5. Be careful what you say on social media about your crowdfunding campaign. And remember, Next Gen Crowdfunding. Okay, that's a company that does crowdfunding for education resources. Okay. Number 6, you're almost done. There is going to be paperwork, and that goes back to choosing the proper platform for what you're trying to do, right? Your crowdfunding platform. Some will help you with paperwork and so on, but be prepared for paperwork, right? And have legal, accountant costs, all those costs built into your plan, right? If you go into if you're collecting some, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, you must have legal and tax help separately. Don't think your lawyer is going to help you with taxes. There are tax lawyers, tax attorneys, but your tax help and your overall legal help, 2 separate entities. Okay? Maybe the same law firm, but 2 separate entities. Keep that in mind. All right? And there's going to be paperwork. All right? That's number 6. There's going to be paperwork. Keep in mind, I know I said it, but there's going to be paperwork. And you run the risk of losing everything if you're not up on the paperwork. Now, again, this is an entrepreneur magazine. It's an entrepreneur's essential guide to the Wild West funding, starting on May 16th. All right. Now, I'm going to read the first sentence just to give you an idea of what you're facing. Companies raising $100,000 or less must make financial statements and specific line items from income tax returns available to investors, both of which are certified by principal executive officer of the company. I'll keep going a little bit. Companies raising between $100,000 to $500,000 must provide investors' financial statements reviewed by an independent public accountant and an accountant's review report. And it's just the more money it is, the more stringent the more money it is, the more stringent the regulation. So be aware of that. Okay, it's very, very, very important. Okay. Number 7, the final and our 7th and final one. Okay, you have to stay in touch with your investors after they give you money. All right, and that's part of your marketing as well. You have to keep them involved, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's an email, you have to keep them involved, right? Unless you're going to decide to put some of these folks on your board, if you're going to have a board of directors or a board of advisors, unless you're going to have that, you can have as a minimum, a weekly or bi-weekly or a monthly email just to say, hey, this is where we are, a weekly newsletter, something. This is your investors newsletter to show where we are, video updates, something. Stay in touch with the people that have given you money because they want to know what their investment is doing, and you may want to release some sort of investment document each time you do it, so they know where their money's going and what they can expect in return once you get to that point. Something to think about. Okay. All right, that's it for that article. Sit tight, sit through this commercial, and we'll be right back. Hey, let's take a short break. If you enjoy smart, progressive commentary, go to the Benjamin Dixon Show channel Monday through Thursday. On Mondays, you have the Benjamin Dixon Show starting at 9 o'clock. On Tuesdays, you have The Way with Anoa starting at 8 and Ben again at 9. On Wednesdays, the Benjamin Dixon Show starts at 9 o'clock. On Thursdays at 8, it's the Scandinavian Perspective with Niz Peterson. Then Ben starts again at 9 o'clock. Please tune in to the Benjamin Dixon Show channel on YouTube and subscribe. Okay, let's get back to work. All right, here we are in segment 3. And right now we're going to talk about understanding your market. This is a very basic, bare bones view on how to understand your market, right? So we've talked about it in past podcasts or past shows when we said, you have to understand your market. It's one of the worst things in the world is to build a widget or provide a service and nobody wants it, all right? Or nobody can afford it, all right? We talked about the $10,000 laptops that nobody wants, okay? Might as well be $10,000 paperweights. All right, so shows ago. The things you need to learn about is 3 basic pillars of marketing, right? You need to understand your customer, you need to understand your competitors, and you need to understand your overarching industry, right? So you need to know what your customers want. You need to know what your competitors are doing to fill those needs, all right? There may be a delta there, a gap you can fill, a niche you can find in what they're missing, or a way you can provide it better, and that could be your niche. Or and also you need to know your industry, all right? Overall industry, how they're interfacing with the customer, how they're interfacing with the customer, and how they're dealing within, and how your competitors are dealing within the overarching industry, and who's doing what in the industry. Is there a similar service to what you're providing? If there's something similar, can you do it better and or cheaper? Do you have better connections in order to get it off? There may be a struggling company trying to get on their feet, and you may have more funding to come in the market and knock them over. It sounds ruthless, but that's just the way the world works. So you need to understand your customers, competitors, and your industry. Okay, and this is market research. And for the purposes of this particular exercise, this is the definition we're going to follow. The process of analyzing data to help you understand the products and services in demand, and how to be competitive. Market research can also provide valuable insight to help you, 1, reduce business risk. This is important, especially if we were talking about before about crowdfunding. If you haven't done your market research, you won't get a penny. If you do, you're just a lucky person. All right. Spot current and upcoming problems in your industry. All right. Right. Problems in the industry. If there's current problems in the industry or there's upcoming problems in the industry, you can find some niches, some way to fill that niche. Again, the challenges is where the opportunities are. Okay, look for those challenges. All right, identify sales opportunities, and also you may find out that something about your particular product, right, is actually something you didn't. Say you created a product line of I don't know, calculators, whatever it is, all right, or these spray pens. You got them in pink, you got them in blue. Then you realize, well, wait a minute, I was gonna invest most of it in pink, but it looks like I need to do it in blue, or vice versa, right? Oh, wait a minute, breast cancer awareness month is coming. I can hit the market with these pepper spray pens. Where's my pepper spray pen? If you watch the show, this is my pepper spray pen for law enforcement, right? I need some pink ones because I'm going to launch on Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Great time to launch. Before Breast Cancer Awareness Month, you start. Because you've done your research, right? So not just lady cops are going to be buying your stuff, the men too. Maybe an entire precinct is going to buy your entire city may buy your product because you placed it quickly and you've got the right product for the right time. So now you've got these pink pepper spray pens in all the local law enforcement magazines, law enforcement websites, because you picked the right time or the right product at the right time. Now you've entered the market with this new product and everything takes off from there. Okay. That's the type of things that you can do through market research. Right? Just something to think about. Just a little thought experiment. That's how we get down here. Thought experiments. Okay? Now, step 1 is to identify official government resources. Your best friend is going to be the Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? So you can find economic indicators. employment statistics and incomes and earnings, right? For instance, when I started teaching martial arts, I wanted to know where the money was, right? All right. So oftentimes where the money is, it's oftentimes more competition, but you need to know where the money is, right? Here in Alabama, right? There's here in northern Alabama, I'm in Huntsville. I'm in the Huntsville area. There's 2 money spots, right? For big money, right? So there's Hampton Cove and there's Madison, right? So if you're opening a business in Huntsville, Alabama, those are the places you need to be. Now, the problem with Hampton Cove is that there's a lot of money here in this area, but there's not a lot of people, right? There's more people than there's more money than there is people, right? Madison is a lot more densely populated with a median income of $89,000, which is ridiculous, especially for Alabama, right? So you need to understand those types of things, right? And you also, for instance, for martial arts, this is going to be mostly kids, right? Not the martial art I do, but it's going to be mostly kids, right? So you need to know where the kids are, right? So Madison is sort of like a sweet spot for a martial arts school, right? There's a lot of kids there because there's a lot of families, right? And the Huntsville area in general is a very family-oriented place because of Redstone Arsenal and the local colleges and stuff. So, and the big businesses that are coming up around Redstone Arsenal, right? So, and a lot of those people live in Madison, right? Their kids go to Madison Academy. So, if I had my druthers, right? If I could set up a martial arts school and I had a good reputation and I had everything I needed, right? And I had the money, I would set up in Madison, close to one of the private schools or close to a high school, right? Maybe a sweet spot between several schools, right? So several high schools could come to my school, right? That's the kind of research you need to do, okay? Where's the money, right? Because you set up a business where there's no money. And sometimes you set up a business where there isn't money for a particular reason. Like if you're funded through grants to do a particular type of work in communities of need, that's something different, right? And on that side, you need to find out where your services are needed more than anything, right? Especially if you're funded by grants, because your money is coming in the back door, and the folks you're serving may or may not be paying you. Even if they are paying you, it's probably a small portion of what you need to run your business, right? So you need to find out where your business is needed more so than where the money is. So you need to find your target market, find out where it is, how it's going to be paid for, and who it is, right? For instance, if you single mothers are a big piece of closing the gaps in education, right? If you're going to target single moms, you need to consider where you're going to be, right? You need to be where the single mothers are. So you need to look that up, right? Size of family, right? Where are they concentrated, right? It's usually lower income areas. All that is, all right? So, and what time you're going to be open, right? Single mothers are more likely going to be free during the day while their kids are at school, all right? So these are all types of things you need to know about because that's what you learn in your market research. All right. So again, it's the 3 basic things for your sources. Your the Bureau of Labor Statistics is your best friend when you're doing marketing research. All right. So in economic indicators, employment statistics, and earnings, income and earnings. All right. Things to think about. Number 2, identify additional sources of analysis. So there's City Trends. Not City Trends. City Labs, I think it is. There's several sites out there where you can do market research. Sometimes local libraries will have some sort of market research. Colleges, universities, small business development centers, they can help you with sources for research. Of course, the Small Business Administration can help you with market research. So, and that free consulting from the Small Business Development Center or the SBA, check it out, SBA.gov, SBA.gov. Okay. So trade groups, business magazines, Academic institutions and other third parties gather and analyze research data about business trends. Use internet and database searches to find information related to your your location and industry. Again, my pepper spray pens, right? I know that Breast Cancer Awareness Month is a big deal for Madison Police Department, but not such a big deal. The budget for Huntsville City may not be as big, right? So I need to target I need to hone in on Madison City because they have more money to spend on my particular product, right? Don't forget them back there. But if I'm going to focus resources, I'm going to focus resources on where I can get my money back, right? Something to think about, right? Understand the international market. Now, if you're not going to go international, I'll read the paragraph for you, all right? Today's economy is a globalized marketplace, pepper spray pens, and it's important to understand the international factors that influence your business. These resources will help you to research potential international markets for your products and services. Okay, so you got the market research guide for exporters, right? There's a link in there. Country market research and buyusa.gov. All right. So all this is on sba.gov under understanding your market. All right. And next week we're going to do business data and statistics. Fun. All right. So that's it for this segment. Remember, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is your best friend. Customers, competitors, industry. That's what you need to know about in your market research. Customers, competitors, industry. That way you can focus your resources where they're going to do the best. Don't forget, entrepreneur crowdfunding is changing or has already changed. Get in on that if you can. And again, and student debt, if you can start closing those gaps in student debt, there's some opportunities there. So that's it for today. I'm Mike Redwine. That's my Twitter handle. I'm the founder of the Louisa Project 2027. That's up there, Louisa Project 2027. If you want to get our attention, we monitor the hashtag LP 2027. That's up there, okay. And also, if you want to, you can go to our website. We're still building it, but you can still link to it. LouisaProject2027.org. Okay. There are plenty of ways to contact us. If you're a business that has services that work in this market, in the market of education, if you're a writer, if you're an educator, if you're an administrator, if you're any way touch the field of education, I want to hear from you. I want to do an interview from you. I'll feature your product and do an interview and feature your product for free at no cost. So something to think about. And that's it. My name is Mike Redwine again. Have a great day, great weekend, whatever you're going into. Enjoy it. Be safe. So long.
Months now has begun.